In the scripture, Nehemiah was working as a cupbearer for the king. He was living in Persia, 1,000 miles away from his hometown of Jerusalem. His brother came to visit and told how the people of Judah were in great danger. The walls of Jerusalem had been torn down, the gates pulled out. What could Nehemiah do about it? He was working in the kitchen. He could have told his brother, that's too bad. I hate hearing that. But suddenly, God dropped a desire in Nehemiah to rebuild those walls. It didn't make sense to his mind. He didn't have the staff, the resources, the influence. But when it's a God-given desire, you don't talk yourself out of it. You don't come up with excuses. You know God will make a way. So you take steps of faith. You get out of your comfort zone and do things you never thought you could do. That's God not just giving you the desire, but the power to do what pleases Him. And when it's a destiny desire, there's a force breathing in your direction, pushing you forward, opening doors, causing people to be good to you. You're not stressed over how it's going to happen. You know it's going to happen. Nehemiah, he was quiet, reserved. He never made any waves. But now there's this new boldness, a confidence, the faith to believe for what seemed impossible. He went to the king and asked if he could take time off to go build the walls of Jerusalem. Imagine going to your boss tomorrow saying, can I have a year off to go home, take care of some family business? But when God puts the desire in you, you not only have the want to, but God gives you the favor to get it done. The king said, yes, Nehemiah, you can have the time off. He said, thank you so much. I'm very grateful, but I don't have any supplies, any materials, any funds. The king said, don't worry, I'll give you a letter requiring people to give you everything that you need. The scripture says the king granted him all his requests because the gracious hand of God was upon him. Notice, God not only put the desire in him, but God put the favor on him so he could see that desire come to pass. God never gives you the desire without the power, without the favor. You don't have to make all this happen, try to force doors to open, manipulate things, play up to people. Just keep God first place. Make pleasing Him a priority, and God will put the right desires in you. He'll lead you down the best path. The best path is something you've never imagined. You have your plans, but you should see God's plans. His ways are better than our ways. He has exceedingly abundantly above and beyond in your future. In my plan, I never thought I'd be doing this. In David's plan, he never thought he'd be defeating a giant, become the king. Nehemiah's plan, he never thought he'd rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. Who knows where God is taking you? There are desires He's going to put in your heart that are going to boggle your mind. The beauty is you won't be talked out of it. He'll make it strong enough to override the doubt, the naysayers, the fear. You'll step into levels greater than you've ever imagined. A friend of mine grew up in a very dysfunctional home. There was a lot of strife. They were very poor. As a young boy, there were nights he'd have to get out of the house afraid of all the violence. He could have grown up bitter, angry, but his attitude was, I'm not going to live like this. I'm going to break this negative cycle and do something productive with my life. There was a doctor in the small town in Alabama where they lived. He was the only man he saw that was successful and always happy. He made up his mind as a young boy that he was going to become a doctor, just like that man. He loved playing football. 16 years old, a friend invited him to a Fellowship of Christian Athletes meeting. He felt something that he had never felt. His family didn't know anything about God, but that night he gave his life to Christ. He went to the University of Alabama hoping to play football. They let him try out for the team. Against all odds, he made it. They gave him a full scholarship. His senior year, he was finishing up his pre-med classes, still planning to become a doctor. But he thought, I'm not passionate about medicine anymore. I don't want to become a doctor. And he decided to go into health management. Graduated from college, had a job lined up. When his football coach called him and said, I want you to come and work for me. be my assistant. He never thought about coaching. That wasn't even on his radar. He went to check it out, see what it was like, and he fell in love with it. He said, this is what I was born to do. When you keep God first, He'll guide you down the best path. He thought he wanted to become a doctor. At the time, that's what he needed, that vision to go to school, to break out of the dysfunction. But God knows how to change your desires. He's doing this to align your will with His will. Had he not seen that doctor growing up, he'd never had a desire to go to college. Had he never gone to college, he'd have never played for Alabama. Had he never played football, he'd never become an assistant coach. Had he never become an assistant, he would have never become the head coach of Clemson University. Coach Dabo Swinney, who's won 2 national championships, one of the greatest college coaches of our day. He had his plan, but God had another plan. I can assure you, God's plan is better than your plan. The beauty is, you don't have to figure it all out. All you have to do is commit your ways to God. Keep Him first place. He'll put the right desires in you. He'll guide you down the best path for your life. Well, Joel, I've had a lot of these desires a long time. Something I've been dreaming about, something I want to become, but it hasn't happened. It either hasn't been the right time or God has something better. Trust Him. Believe what He promised, that He's giving you the right desires and the power to do what pleases Him. And a great prayer is, Lord, thank you that my will is aligning with your will. Thank you that you're in control of my desires. You know what's best for me. God, I trust you with my life. Elisha was out working in a field, plowing with a bunch of his staff. There were 11 teams of oxen in front of him. He was leading the 12th team. He was a part of the family business. They were successful, had plenty of resources, and he was next in line to run it all. One day the prophet Elijah came by, threw his jacket on him, and said, come work for me. Why would Elisha want to leave? His future is set. He has all these resources, a staff, nice place to live. But suddenly, God dropped the desire in Elisha. He felt it so strongly. This is a part of your destiny. It's time to step out. The scripture says Elisha burned the plows, sacrificed the oxen, and went with Elijah to be his assistant. Sometimes what God puts in your heart doesn't make sense to other people. I'm sure he was the talk of the town. Can you believe Elisha left everything to follow that old man? That prophet that's kind of crazy? But God won't move you out unless He has something better. Not long after that, Elijah was taken to heaven, and Elisha received a double portion of his spirit. He performed twice as many miracles as Elijah. God is going to put desires in you that are going to take you further than you can imagine. You think you've reached your limits, gone as far as you can according to your education, your family, your income, but God is not limited by any of that. Because you keep Him first, He's going to open doors you never dreamed would open. Bring opportunity, influence, favor, resources. The best path is an abundant path, a favor-filled path, a bountiful path. How do you get there? Commit your ways to the Lord. He'll not only put the right desires in you, He'll make sure you have the power to do what pleases Him. But what about when we're not putting God first? What about family, loved ones that are not committing their ways to Him? How are they ever going to make right choices? God is so merciful, He'll still put desires in you. The scripture says He chose us before we could choose Him. 17 years old, my father was coming home from a nightclub, 2 o'clock in the morning. He didn't know anything about God. His family were good people, but they didn't have any kind of faith. It looked like my father would continue down that same path. But for some reason that night, he looked up at the stars and began to think about God, what He was going to do with his life. That was God drawing my father in, giving him the desire to think about his Creator. He got home and saw the family Bible on the coffee table. It was just there for decoration. Something said to him, open it up. He opened it. It fell to a picture of Jesus standing at a door and knocking. The caption read, "If you'll open the door, I'll come in." The next day, he went to church with a friend and gave his life to Christ. He felt this calling to become a minister. He told his family that he was going to leave the farm and go out and start ministering. Nobody had left the farm. Where did this come from? That was God putting desires in my father, choosing him when he didn't know how to choose. Where would we be without the mercy of God? When we didn't keep him first, when we didn't listen to his voice, he still guided us. He still protected us. Parents, you may have children that are off course. Doesn't look good. You keep praying, keep loving them, and at the right time, God is going to give them new desires. His desires, desires that move them into their destiny. I know today you have a heart after God, or you wouldn't be here. You want to do the right thing, or you wouldn't have tuned in. My encouragement is you can trust God with your desires. He's not going to let you miss your destiny. Live from a place of peace, knowing that God is giving you the right desires and the power to do what pleases Him.